Hello, it's Gabriel again, and we're still in step one. We're still designing your Moti journey. And in this sub-step, we'll be planning the journey. After that, we'll see about your budget and how you'll create teams. For the time being, I just want to impress you with this beautiful flowchart. We'll be getting back to it in the next slide. But most important thing to note is the plan really depends on many different things that I am clueless about. This is about you and your plan. It's about the journey's purpose and objectives. It will be about the number of teams that you will be surveying and working with, and that can be anywhere between one team, your team of volunteers, and all your National Society's volunteers and staff. So you can have small journeys and very big journeys, and depending on that, we'll have to decide how deep you want to go, or how wide you want to go. How deep is, and how deep do you want to go into one team's motivational issues, and how far you want to go into resolving their psychological factors, and how wide is, how many teams do you want to include in a big journey that involves many teams, and therefore it will really be up to the team supervisors to go deep. They will be pretty much on your own because you will not have enough time to dedicate to going deep with every single team. It also depends on the current level of participation and collaboration and peer-to-peer learning that you have currently between teams and within the teams. Some national societies, some organizations, are already very advanced in participation and co-design. They're used to working in teams in a very intense way. So this will be a piece of cake for them. In other teams, you have high levels of mistrust. People don't feel necessarily safe, and sometimes leadership is not always fully engaged. So you want to have a look at the current level of trust, psychological safety, and leadership engagement to set your plan. Your plan will really depend on that also. So whatever the circumstances, you can do a Moti journey. You'll just have to plan slightly differently. Finally, it's a question of how much time you have and how much resources the core team has. But here we'll see in the next clip, you don't need that many resources, but you do need some time to make it all worthwhile. So it all starts with you. And probably the best thing you can do is contact us to see how we can support you. And the first thing that we will probably ask you is this the first time that you're doing a Moti journey? And if the answer is yes, then we'll introduce you and your core team to how we can work together, an introduction to Moti, which pretty much elaborates on these tutorials and on the Moti guidebook that you can find online. What we do is we have standard terms of reference which detail and plan out how we work together, who does what and when. And these terms of references, well, it's a conversation, and we need to agree on these terms of reference. If we don't agree immediately, then we'll have to discuss further until we actually agree. And part of the terms of reference include the names of the Moti coaches that we would assign to your journey. Ideally one or two. It could be me also. I really enjoy doing this, so please ask me. And then we would probably have a prep session with not just with the core team, but maybe with the team supervisors. So if you're working in a branch, that would be the different teams in the branches, the project teams, and all those that you want to engage with in this journey. We could have a webinar or a conference or a workshop where we go through the basics of the journey of self-determination theory and how you would run this, the next steps, etc. People like practical ideas on what's going to happen to them. Part of that would be also to create the Moti teams, the Moti circles, and to reassure people that the Moti survey is safe and that it's in their interest to respond honestly. Now, you we would launch the Moti survey immediately after that, and use the Moti app, of course, not just to launch the survey, but also to keep track of the response rates. And we want a high response rate. We want a response rate, that goes above 75%. And so if we don't have 75%, well, we just send reminders. Again, this is something we can help you with. We have lots of standard reminder emails and messages that you can use and adapt to your needs. Once we have a good response rate, and I would say it's anything above 75%, but we have reached 100%, and that makes for very powerful Moti journeys. Once we have a sufficient response rate, we can start looking as a team together, the dashboard on the Moti app. And all those that will have responded to the survey will have access to the dashboard. So we have tools for people to reflect individually or in smaller teams on what these results mean. And then we can come together at another workshop and have a larger discussion on the results. And these discussions can lead to maybe a deeper analysis. There's some things that might be counterintuitive or things that require further investigation. Well, no, we will not stop at the dashboard. We will go deep as necessary so that we can start finding solutions that would go into our plan of action. So each team would have their plan of action. As a branch or as an organization, you can have your plan of action. That really depends on the results and the insights that you gain during these team discussions. Now, your plan needs to be more than okay, actually. The plan is a commitment, not just from leadership, but from every member of every team on doing their bit. So Moti is about taking responsibility. So it's not just leaving it to the leaders to implement the plan. The plan is about how we change our behaviors, our attitude, how we help each other out. So the plan of action includes commitments for everybody. And so that's why it's important that the plan is accepted by all as a good plan. Once that happens and you're starting to actually implement the plan of action, the core team, with the help of the Moti coaches, would finalize the case study. Now, what we call the case study is nothing less than just the documentation of everything that happened. It's the diary of your Moti journey, and it includes the plan and how you will implement the plan. And the case study, so your documentation, is reviewed. It's peer reviewed by Moti coaches, because it's based on that we institutionalize what we have learned. And this is something that we would like to share with other national societies as examples of good practice in volunteer or in staff management. And last but not least, you would want to schedule the next Moti, because it's the subsequent Moti survey that will be able to help you assess the implementation of your plan, the outcomes of all this. Have you managed to sustain the motivation and engagement and well-being that you were able to create during that Moti journey? So the next sub-step actually, is to secure resources for your journey according to that flowchart that I've just showed you. And rest assured, you don't need that much money. So see you for the next clip. Cheers.